Well, I'd like to welcome to Context Anela Jadunandan of the Canadian Council of Muslim Women and Jack Fonseca from the Campaign Life Coalition. Welcome to Context. Watch your step there. Welcome. How you doing? Welcome. Well, let's start here, and Anela, I'll start with you. Thousands of Muslim parents reportedly pulled their kids out of school over this sex ed curriculum. Let me ask you this: why?
Well, as far as I know, a lot of them had not even read the curriculum at that time. Since then, a lot of parents did read the curriculum. I don't know how many of them understand, and I don't know how many of them realize that sex ed has been taught previously. Like, this is not a brand new sex ed. It's a revision of something. By the way, it has not been revised since 1998. So Ontario is way behind other places, other countries, and other parts of Canada.
Would you brand it, though, as being the same? Obviously, it's not quite the same. So there's some changes, you would say, obviously.
Of course, yes.
Okay.
And I might say most of it is for the better. I mean, I don't endorse 100% of everything that's in the new curriculum. I think that will be up to parents.
Okay. And Jack, you are a Catholic and a parent, and you spend a lot of time as part of the CLC as an activist against the curriculum. What is your objection?
There's several, and I would have to disagree with the characterization that parents haven't read this curriculum. I've talked to a lot of the Muslim parents, the Catholics, the Protestants, the Chinese, the Sikhs, what have you. They come with this curriculum with page numbers circled and highlighted. They've read it back to back, cover to cover, inside and out. They know what they're talking about. They've read the curriculum. As far as what the objections are, parental objections to the curriculum, there's 5 or 6 main categories. The first is that it's simply too much graphic information. It's too explicit. For instance, in grade 1, and this is just some of the examples, not all of them, that are controversial. In grade 1, it will get 6-year-olds talking about their genitalia, learning to use terms like testicles, vulva, vagina, and you have to remember, this is the teacher is essentially a stranger to the family. And it's just not age appropriate for them at that level. In grade 3, it will teach the disputed theory that being a boy or a girl is merely a social construct, that gender is fluid like water and it can change back and forth, that your being a boy or a girl is merely a social construct that's unrelated to your physical anatomy. In grade 6, the teacher may encourage children to masturbate as a pleasurable vehicle for self-discovery. And I'll quote from the document itself. It says, quote, exploring one's body by touching or masturbating is something that many people do and find pleasurable. It is one way of learning about your body, end quote. In grade 7, it will introduce the topics of anal intercourse and oral sex to 12-year-olds, children as young as 12. And now this is under the guise of discussing sexually transmitted diseases, but the fact is that what has happened is that these topics, these sexual practices, have been introduced to young minds that perhaps have never seriously considered that they could be engaging in these activities right now. They've planted some ideas that are age inappropriate, that shouldn't be there at that time, and presented them in a scientifically false way. It's just anti-scientific. For instance, it presents anal sex as equivalent and carrying no higher risk than vaginal intercourse, and that's simply irresponsible to present that, because anal sex carries between 31 to 430 times higher risk for contracting HIV. So for this Liberal government to suggest to children and leave them with the impression that anal sex is no more risky than vaginal intercourse is grossly irresponsible and may even put their lives at risk.
Well, let me ask you this, because I want to get Anela in. What would you say that it's really mainly a marriage of the school system coming alongside the work of perhaps what parents could or should be doing to guide properly? Because you said something very interesting. You said they're implanting some information, but would you say, what about the lens that they're doing it through a responsible way,
let me tell you about the lens.
My friend in the basement, we were looking at some magazines and we found this. Let me go, Anela, let me go back to Jack.
Okay, so you know that when you and I were growing up, I don't know how old you are, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as a smartphone. I'll tell you something. My kids...
That's got nothing to do with age appropriateness.
Listen to me. Today, parents are faced with the fact that their children have their smartphones. So they have the iPods and the computer. And like we just saw in the clip that you showed previously, they can see porn anytime they want. And
the debate is not about porn.
I'm telling you something here. Right. And so would you not want your children to learn about this in a classroom setting rather than from friends or from those porn sites? And what the mediator here, mediator I'm calling you, but what I'm saying is parents have to play a larger role now in their child's education. Parents can no longer say, okay, go to school and I'll see you at 3 o'clock. You, as a parent, have to really look and learn what the curriculum is saying. Okay. Take charge.
Jack, your response.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a deflection because parents do not have a problem with teaching that porn is wrong, although the curriculum never says that. In this curriculum, 244 pages, it never says don't look at porn. It never says it's harmful.
Children are curious. You know that they will look at porn, right?
Yeah. And in fact, on the topic of sexting, it never says once, do not send naked pictures. There is a very clear reason, or at least many parents believe, the reason why the curriculum does not say don't look at porn, don't use porn, don't send naked pictures of yourself. It's glaringly obvious that these things are absent from the curriculum is because of who wrote it.
And for instance,
let me stop you there. I'm glad you brought the visual.
It's very important.
Yes. Before hold that thought, I want to go through really quickly. Anela, you're part of an initiative to educate the Muslim community about the curriculum as well. Now that document created the Canadian Council of Muslim Women. We know this, and it suggests it's a good thing. Tell us why you think that.
Okay. Now, I didn't create the document, all of the expertise. It was done by Dr. Aisha Shirazi. Okay, she's a doctor. She knows what she's doing. It was there by an imam, Hashmi, Sikandar Hashmi, and a writer and a principal of a public school, Jiwan Chanika. Now, they've all been writing about the sex ed and talking about it all over the place. So I decided to bring this information together into one document. And the document is called Grade by Grade Guide for Muslim Parents on the Revised Sex Ed. And so we needed to educate the Muslim parents about what's going on. You talked about grade 6, children talking about genitalia.
Grade 1. Grade 1.
Sorry,
6 years old.
6 years old.
6 years old discussing their genitalia.
That's what I meant. Yeah. You know that child advocates have always been saying they need to learn the proper words for the genitalia.
That's actually not true.
Okay, listen to me.
That's actually not true.
Give me a chance. They need to learn it. If they're assaulted, if they're touched
but you're saying something that's not true.
You're interrupting me again. I need to say if they're assaulted or touched by someone, could be family member or somebody else, we don't know. They need to tell this to a doctor where hurts. If they're hurt somewhere, they need to be able to use the proper terminology. That's all. You know, it's biology. It's health.
Let me jump in because the reason why I'm interested about this curriculum, my daughter. I have a young daughter. She's six months, so she's a little bit distant from when this will totally affect her. But I remember when she came out and I saw her held in my arms, and I had that immediate protector kind of come on me. So when I look at this curriculum, there's a lot of things that come into my mind, and I can see there are strong views on both ends. But let me ask you this: what is the ideal then? Because both sides will go at it, but what's the ideal?
The thing is, you can't assume that every child is ready at the same time. Children are individuals like grown-ups, and but especially children, they develop at different rates. So not all 6-year-olds are going to be developmentally ready to receive sexually explicit information.
So the
not all
ideal
8-year-olds. So it has to be developmentally appropriate for the age and for the child's maturity. And the government, Kathleen Wynne, Benjamin Levin, Planned Parenthood Toronto,
they don't know.
You're on next in about 10 seconds.
The best judge of a child's readiness for sexually explicit content is the child's parents.
Yes. That's good. So our audience knows that your view is the parents decide when it's the right time.
That's right. And this curriculum just imposes it all at the same time.
Anela, he says the parents. Now, what do you say briefly?
Well, I'm glad you actually mentioned the word parents. Because
it's all about parents.
You know, the parents will be the one to educate the kids. In the document that I prepared, it said things like religion, moral values, family values should be taught at home where the parents are. Okay, it's up to the parents to pass those on to the children. Don't depend on your public school teacher to do that. Okay? Now, there are some parents, Muslim parents, who choose to send their children to Islamic schools. And that's fine, if they can afford it. There's a cost to that. There are some parents who are saying, I'm going to homeschool my kids. That's fine if you know how to do that and if you have the time.
Now, where does the ideal slip in?
The ideal slip in is that the parents need to pay attention to the curriculum and what's being taught, and the parents need to talk to their children. Talk to your children first before the school teacher talks to them and teach them sex ed. If they hear it from you, a trusted source, then they would be prepared. And you know your children better than anybody else. So
Well,
I'm with you on that. I'm with
so-
you on that. You teach your children about the sex ed. Everybody should have a copy of the sex ed so they know what their children are learning.
So it looks like you're saying, I don't want to jump in, but it looks like you're saying parents decide the timing. It's about a marriage between parents and the system.
Well,
And
yes.
what's happening, unfortunately, is that the Liberal
I
government is
unfortunately have to cut
imposing
it off,
Yes.
but I hope we can keep the cameras running because this might be some good digital content. But well, let me put a pause in it there. We have to leave it at that, I'm afraid. Well, thank you, honestly. Jack Fonseca is the activist with the Campaign Life Coalition. Anela Jadunandan. I want to make sure, this is live to tape, and I want to make sure I say this correct. Say your name for me one more time.
Jadunandan, Muslim activist.
Wonderful, Jadunandan. I want to make sure I got that right. She is a mother and supporter of the sex ed component of the new Ontario health curriculum. Spirited debate, much more to come.